You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com, Andrew the Rock Lobster, Joe Benazzi from OptionPit.com, and Henry the Flowmaster Schwartz from Cboe. The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody, that music means it is Thursday. We are back live and raring to go with episode 2 of everyone's favorite bi-weekly options extravaganza known around the globe as the Option Block. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com. Reminding you at the top of the show here, make sure wherever you're getting the show, you're subscribed to the full network. If you're not, you're really just hurting yourself at this point. You're missing out on a whole bunch of other great content that's coming at you. And of course, if you're ready to go big or go home, and you don't want to go home because you're already home, head on over to the Pro, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. A lot of awesome stuff popping off over there, including early access to some cool data and analytics and everything else, pro Q&As, options oddities, giveaways, live streams, exclusives, you name it. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more as we go around the horn and see who's joining us today. First, we go out to the hinterlands of Chicago, where poor Uncle Mike is drying the tears. You know, the last time we chatted, of course, I'm talking about Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. He was still in the hunt. I mean, it was about an 85% chance that my insider squad was going to take him in our Options Insider Fantasy Football League this year, but he still had a quarterback to go. I still had my quarterback to go. It didn't look like an even contest, and sure enough, it was not. The numbers are now final, listeners, and the Insider Squad takes it 189.2 to Uncle Mike's Crypto Lovers 100, that still brings a smile to my face. Uncle Mike's Crypto Lovers Squad 158.14. So a 31-point differential, Uncle Mike. What do you have to say to your fans out there, sir? I think they're very disappointed.
Yeah, I would be too. I mean, I guess this is what you get when you name your team the Crypto Lovers, but I'm doing my best. We have to regroup. We just have to play better. That's just what it's about. We have to play better. We have to eliminate the turnovers, and we just have to execute. We did not execute on offense, and our defense was a little bit too loose. There, how did that sound for like a good post-game head coaching speech?
You got all the sound bites there. You got trust the process, next man up. You got a few other things you got to work in there, but yeah, it sounded pretty good, sir. You spent some time on the sidelines over there at St. Charles North. Learned a thing or two, sir.
Yeah, those are not fun speeches to make, but hey, I'm not the head coach, so I don't have to make them.
There you go. You just get to revel in the taste of glory over there, if not perhaps on the fantasy football gridiron. But you know what? Hope springs eternal. There's another week out there. I'm not sure who Uncle Mike is battling out there this week. I guess we will find out there this week, listeners. As we keep on rolling, I know who he's not battling, which is anyone. He is the flow master, Mr. Henry Schwartz from Cboe, perhaps wisely demurred from our fantasy football league this year. But next year he's going to join, and he's going to be the team everyone wants to play. I'm looking forward to it. Mr. Flow Master, sir, have you already started planning your strategy for next year?
Absolutely. Next year it's going to be all me and ChatGPT, and whatever it tells me to do, that's who I'm picking, and we'll see how it goes. I spent almost all of yesterday working on Claude AI, doing some vibe coding. So I'm very much in the AI moment right
You're
now.
in the AI bubble. In fact, you sound a little robotic. Are we talking to Robot Henry right now? Are you taking a break? Is the AI taking over for you, sir?
You will never know, Mark.
We'll never know. We'll see if we can piece it together, listeners, as we keep on rolling into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading, what is lighting up our screens out there today and indeed this week. And this week, it has been mostly kind of a weird flirting up, flirting down a little bit, kind of hard to find a direction. For those of you looking to sink your teeth into some concrete numbers for a change, get away from the he said, she said of the Twitter war out there, which has been moving the markets, you could argue, in ridiculous ways. Last Friday, again on Monday, this tweet, that tweet. If you're looking to get away from that, this is the start of earnings season, so you are starting to get some concrete numbers. Decent numbers out of the financials that move them up. Good numbers out of Taiwan Semi today out there, and Salesforce and a few others. So there are some concrete names out there reporting. It does seem, though, that all of that is still caught up in this just macro miasma we're all kind of living through together. What's the next tweet? Are we in a trade war with so-and-so? Who are we bombing now? All kinds of things coming out of the administration that seem to be kind of just hanging over this market right now. And that's happening again today. The market started off kind of in the Uncle Mike camp, feeling a little bit of their oats, rallying a bit. And now as the day has progressed, looks like we flirted with, we got up to 6,700 again, ever so briefly in the S&P. It seems like that was a distant memory that we were at 6,700. And then we were back at it again this morning, and then now giving up the ghost, selling off again. Selling off a lot more aggressively, starting to rebound a little bit, got down to 66.25 or so. So about a 75 handle downside move in the span of not too long here heading into the show. So a lot of weird stuff going on out there. As we're kicking off the show, we are still back in the red, but not a ton, off about 0.2% in the S&P and the Dow. And the NASDAQ only slightly in the red, off about 0.06% out there. And our good buddy VIX Cash, kind of been vacillating around a lot this week. Did kiss almost a 23 handle earlier this week. Hanging out right now, 21.75. That puts it up over 1.5 points, about 1.6 points from where it was this time last week. And our old pal VVIX signaling look out below 122. VVIX back up to those frothy levels we were hanging out in for some time during the pandemic. I know it's hard to remember now, listeners, but back during the pandemic, VVIX didn't drop below 120 for years. It was just that was what we were all living through together. So we're back in that range. Can we hang out there? We shall see. Up about 13 points from where we were this time on the Monday show. All right, around the horn we go. Out to the Flowmaster. Is it the Flowmaster, or is it the Flowmaster AI talking to us right now? Mr. Flowmaster, sir, an interesting week. A lot going on the macro side. Earnings popping off. What is catching your eye out there, sir? Oh, yeah, and a big thing called the government shutdown as well.
Oh, yeah, we're used to the government shutdown. You know, I was lucky enough to be on Bloomberg TV Monday morning, and then Yahoo TV yesterday. It's a good week for media And, the mood has definitely shifted a little bit. Market's a little sideways. Seeing VIX around 23, that's the highest we've been since April. And it feels like we kind of went from this like, well, government shutdown, but the market keeps going higher. And does it really matter? Because, we've been here before. We've even been here before when it kind of comes to the 100% tariffs on China. But, we have a week where we're down. I mean, we're down about a little bit over 1%, maybe 1.5%. We're still up kind of 12 to 13% year to date in the broad averages. But I think people are getting a little bit nervous. You're hearing more chatter about the AI bubble. You're hearing more chatter about kind of the really extreme concentration in the Mag 7 or the Mag 10 stocks. And I will also say that Andrew Ross Sorkin's 1929 book about the crash just came out, and he's been on every single TV channel I've ever turned to. So maybe it's kind of rattling people's cages a little bit. You're into the fourth quarter. People are sitting on gains, but market's getting a little bit rocky. So I would say, and also just looking at kind of the put call skew in SPX. We went from a very tepid kind of, few points of difference between the 25 delta put and call, which is really an indication of kind of that downside concern, to really kind of the higher end of the range. We're looking at about 8 points of actual skew at the 30-day term. That's pretty high. That does show you that people are concerned. You have one geopolitical conflict that seems to be winding down, although you never know what could happen. But I don't know. Today, I think Trump tweeted that he was talking to Putin on the phone. So you just never know. And last Friday, that was a sharp sell-off that did shock people. Now it's only a little bit over 2%, not that big a deal when you're up 12 or 13% year to date. But it had been a while since we'd had a hard sell-off, and I think it kind of reminded people, like, oh yeah, things are kind of calm. Like even today, I mean, we're kind of, SPX down 20 handles, but we were up. As you said, we were up in the morning. Same thing yesterday. So we're getting some pretty big intraday swings, and I think that's got some people just a little bit more nervous than they've been.
Yeah, we're getting back to those whippy and sawy markets, listeners. What we were saying earlier in the year, if you don't like where this market is, just wait 5 minutes. We're starting to get back into that territory a little bit. Maybe not quite as aggressive as it was in the April-May timeframe, but again, we're moving, 50-odd handles intraday, if not more, in the S&P multiple days this week. So that is certainly not nothing out there as we keep on rolling out to the land of St. Charles. Uncle Mike, unfortunately, no catchphrase for you today, but that's probably good. I think even you were getting exhausted saying your catchphrase week after week. What is catching your eye out there in yet another kind of wild and turbulent day, sir?
Prepare for a curveball, Mark. Never before.
Oh, no.
In the history of planet Earth, has there ever been a better time to sell silver?
I was just going to say, are you going to say gold
right
or
now,
silver?
Today.
Yeah. Are you jumping assets? That's not allowed. That's not in the script, sir.
Oh, I had to do it. I've been wanting to do this since 2014, since 2011. So I was hoping that didn't want to say anything to you. I wanted it to be a surprise. I was hoping that Henry wouldn't say anything about silver today, so I could just do this and surprise you. And then the fact that you even said I couldn't say my catchphrase just made it all the more better for the moment.
Man, I teed you up, sir.
You really did. Whether you tried to or not, you really did. So, yeah, silver is actually hitting a new all-time high today. We got an SLV, we got up to 49.25. It's at 49 right now. Beating the old all-time high back in 2011 of 48.35. So exciting times to say the least. All the Swifties are out there buying silver, that they're in cahoots with the Hunt brothers and the Kansas City Chiefs and Jason Kelsey. It's just that giant conspiracy. Am I right, Mark?
Enormous conspiracy, sir. They're trying to corner this market, and that's what's driving everything up. I blame Taylor Swift. She's plowing all of her ill-gotten gains from that Eras tour into silver and gold. I think we all can see it coming.
I mean, the fact that she's in cahoots with the Hunt brothers, with the Kansas City Chiefs, too, that really It's all coming together right now.
That just makes it almost too obvious. I don't know what the regulators are doing. They should be kicking down that door as we speak.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and the fact that the NFL fixes games so the Chiefs can win everything all the time. And I mean, it's insanity. I mean, it's just the way it is. But with that being said, so exciting times for the Silver Bulls today. I talked a little bit about how some of the silver option action was affecting my beloved silver collar on Monday's strategy block. If you haven't heard that, make sure you tune into that in the recording, because I've been teasing for silver content for over 10 years on this show now, and I finally delivered last Monday, so that was there. But yeah, shifting gears to stocks, this is very much a headline-driven market. And combine that with the fact that we are in earnings season, that definitely adds to the drama, if you will. Some of the things lighten up my tape today with where we are going, with where it is. In stocks, we're almost flat again on the day. And I would say probably the main thing lighting up my tape is that if you are correct, and you're good at it, today is a great day to be an S&P futures day trader with the moves with which we've had. We opened slightly higher. Like Mark had said, we got above the 6,700 mark. If you shorted at that point in time, you got a nice 88 point move approximately. And then if you got out at the lows at 66.20 approximately, which is similar to what the lows were yesterday, you've gotten a 38 point move to the upside if you switched it. So days like today can be very exciting if you are a futures day trader, which I am not, but nonetheless, they're still fun to watch. NVIDIA continues to just not want to go away. A lot of people, there's a lot of talk out there that NVIDIA has maybe had its day. It needs to pull back. Not yet, and not so fast, is what NVIDIA is saying. They're still above the 180 level. They're up a little over 1% on the day. Not a major mover, especially by NVIDIA's terms, but still out there, still staying high, if you will. Like I said, silver's the big thing that's lighting up my tape today. In terms of the various sectors, we do have XLF is down almost 2% on the day, so that's probably the big mover, but there's really not a lot of other major moves from the standpoint of sector movement or sector rotation. So we have that. We have a bunch of earnings coming up, and that's what's happening in the market. Exciting days. Hi-ho silver. Back to you, Mark.
I can't come to grips with these moves in the freaking metals, sir. I mean, barely able to process gold at 4,000. It's at 4,200 now. Silver, we were talking about the 40 handle. That seemed like insanity not too long ago. We're blowing past all of that. I don't know, Uncle Mike. These moves in the metals. By the way, I see a great comment in our chat. They say you expect to see SLV sponsoring the Chiefs soon. What about that?
I knew it. I knew it.
I love that. What if you see that come across Monday Night Football? The Chiefs, SLV Stadium with the Chiefs.
I knew it.
Then you know it's all come full circle, Uncle Mike.
Yes.
And your tinfoil hat that you've been wearing for years. It's finally come to fruition. Yeah, but these metals, listeners, stay tuned for Twyfo in a little bit. We're actually going to do it right after the show today because we like you folks. No rest for the wicked. So if you're hanging out in the pro chat, just hang out. We'll be back right in your ear holes talking all things futures options. I got a feeling metals are inescapable. Everyone, that's all they want to talk about on the show these days. Usually it's a lot of energy and maybe some other things, mixing it in there, equity sometimes. Whatever's hot, maybe crypto, but no, all anyone could talk about these days is the freaking metals, and for obvious reasons. How many years do you have the main metals up 50+% just year to date, not even going back a calendar year? I mean, we were talking 4,000 in the gold, and gold seemed like an absurdity, and maybe by December, and that was a few weeks ago, and now we're already at, not just through that, but through 4,200. Just absolutely wild stuff out there, listeners. Absolutely wild stuff. As we keep on rolling, looks like some more wild stuff. This kind of intraday whipsaw we're just talking about here in the market seems to be ginning up a lot of flow. We've added, just since we started talking on the show, over 500,000 contracts pretty much in the VIX have gone up. So it's been a banger. We were right a little bit north of 500,000. Now we are threatening 1 million contracts 986,000 contracts right now to be precise. I'm sure if I re-rack that again right now, we would probably be north of that, listeners. It's just one of those days where VIX is hot. VIX is spicy out there. By the way, what is the hot option out there in VIX land on a day when VIX is just whipping and sawing all over the freaking place? If you said Nove 18 half puts, then congratulations to you. You are a deeply insightful person, because that is the big dog out there in VIX land today. Let's see really quickly. Yep, 1.05 million. We just ticked. So as I was talking, we blew through the 1 million level out there. And yeah, the hot option in VIX land today. Again, you might have thought maybe some near dated calls, maybe some near side puts, but Nove 18 half puts. We don't see that one lighting it up. That's all opening paper as well. Not a ton of OI on that strike, unlike the 15s and every other put strike. Those are average price right now of about $1.19. In fact, that one kind of resonated to us, so we just put that out to you. That is live on Twitter right now as we speak. Nove 18 half puts, $1.19. Are you buying or are you sold to you? Again, that just went live a few seconds ago, so I'll come back in a little bit with some updated numbers for you. Again, VIX blowing by the ADV, which is back up to about 750,000 contracts. So VIX looking spicy, SPY looking spicy. SPY, most of the other major indexes putting up 1 million contracts or more just since we started talking. Wild stuff out here. I mean, SPY roaring to life, adding another, it was well over 7 million when we started talking, 8.3 million right now. That's against an ADV of 9.1 million. At this pace, we might hit our ADVs in all of the major indices by the end of the show, which would be absolutely wild. SPY right now up to about 8.45 million listeners. So just absolutely banger paper out there. The S, same deal, just ticked north of 3 million, 3.05 million right now against an ADV of 4.4 million. So the S looking spicy out there today as well. Small cap saying, don't forget about me. Small cap selling off about 1.25% right now. So as they are wont to do these days, they are taking the moves of the major indices and then pretty much doubling them. And that's what's happening to the downside today. Again, small caps taking a beating, putting up 1.7 million contracts right now. That's already beating their ADV of 1.65 million. So the small caps looking hot, looking spicy out there. And not to be outdone, the Qs say, don't forget about me. They were at about 2.7 million when we started the show, 3.86 million already. So adding over 1 million contracts since we started talking. That's against an ADV of about 4.7 million. So they could easily hit that by the end of the show as well. So apparently the options markets were kind of spoiled for some intraday whipsaw action, and that's what we're seeing. Obviously, also, these indexes, obviously, they are very biased towards the zero-day flow, and today, as Uncle Mike pointed out, a good day to be a swing trader in the S&P and index futures, also a good day to be a zero DTE options trader, or it could be a terrible day. It could be getting run over, one or the other, but it's not a neutral day out there, so definitely hot stuff, and that is contributing to pretty much all the flow we're seeing out there. We'll break it all down again in a little bit after the closing bell on the hot options report, listeners. All right, out to single names we go, and you might be saying, all right, let's get to it. Single names, it's going to be hot, it's going to be spicy. We got all this intraday whipsaw action, and then, of course, we've got all the macro stuff, and we've got earnings. So should be a banger day out there, listeners. And the answer is no. Only 368,000 contracts is what it costs you to break into the top 10 today. So again, on some of these heavy macro days where we're seeing a lot of whipsaw action, that tends to suck up all the oxygen in the room. Everyone's slinging zero-day SPX. They ain't got time for the monster, or Micron in this case, which is kicking off our top 10. You know, it's an interesting day when Micron's popping in on the top 10 today. Micron popping hard. Popping is the right word. 203.5, up 11.5 bucks, or 6% exactly today. So wild day out here for good old Micron. Oh, there's analyst upgrades here, so that's probably what's driving this. But either way, a strong day for Micron. Number 10, 368 on the tape. We got a bit of a tie for number 10 with Micron and our old pal, the Monster, a.k.a. Strategy, which is just a far more boring name, if you ask me. I like calling it the Monster. Number 9, also 368 on the tape, so grappling for that number 10 spot today. It's old pal Strategy, selling off below 300 bucks now. They were 301.5 earlier today. That was pre-open. Now, of course, down to 293, pretty much exactly, off about 1.25% today. So interesting stuff out here in the old monster. Looking a little bit less monstrous out there. Over the last week, it's off 30 handles or almost 10%. Over the last month, it's off about 42 handles or about 12.5%. So the monster, the perpetual motion machine out there, that is the Bitcoin Treasury action, maybe looking a little bit less attractive these days. Either way, number 9, the monster. Number 8, it's our old pal Alphabet Class A, still managing to rally today, putting up 397,000 contracts, up 1.7 bucks or about 2/3%. 352 3/4 is where it's hanging out. 252 3/4. It's where it's hanging out. Again, good for number 8. It's Alphabet. You know what the deal is with them. Let's keep rolling to number 7. You know, it's an interesting day when this name's popping in. It's either exploding to the upside or it's falling out of bed. Today, it's the latter. It's Rigetti. This quantum scene is just absolutely wild. Number 7, 408,000 contracts on the tape for Rigetti, trading 49 3/4 right now, off about 6.5 bucks or over 11, nearly 12% on the day. So a rough day for Rigetti out there, man. Interesting stuff out here for Rigetti. I'm sure there's gonna be some hot put action in Rigetti as we keep on rolling to number 6. The Fruit Company also wearing it a little bit today, 247.20, off about 215 or over 3/4%. So a little bit of red on the screen out there for Apple. Let's see, 465,000 contracts on the tape for them at the number 6 spot. Red just seems like a rare and a strange color for Apple these days, given how much it's been rallying of late. As we keep on rolling to number 5, it's our old pal Palantir, 180.5, up about a buck or about 0.5%, putting up 512,000 contracts. Let's see, what kind of range has Palantir had today? A little over $7. It was 184.82 to the upside, 177.13 to the downside. So pretty much $7.69 range out there today. So not a bad range intraday, even if right now it's hanging out nearly up a buck. So interesting stuff for Palantir. Not translating to a ton of flow though. We've seen Palantir put up more this time of day. Number 4 is the Amazonians. They're off slightly on the day, 215.40, off about 20 cents, or just kind of fractionally on the day. They have had almost a 5-handle range on the day, though, so a lot of intraday action out there. For number 4, the Amazonians, 577 on the tape. Number 3, this is kind of a perpetual, easy for me to say, a perpetual top 10 or indeed top 5 or top 3 are out there these days. What are we talking about? It's AMD. The latest to get in bed with, actually not even the latest, AVGO is the latest, but one of the recent names to get in bed with OpenAI. They've been feeling that action ever since. 238.94, up about 33 cents today. Good for 824,000 contracts. They've had a range of, looks like about $7.20 on the day, so a little bit of action in AMD. They were popping hard again earlier this week. This name's been kind of a wild one to watch. Then our top 2, back to the usual suspects. Tesla, number 2, 1.36 million contracts, 430.5. So selling back to, I should say, that 430 strike, off nearly $5, a little over 1%. That 430 strike, if you've been listening to the hot options report this week, has been factoring into a lot of the flow out there this week. 430s, 440s are always active. We saw 450s a little bit out there. We've seen all kinds of fun stuff, but right now it's the 430s, and that's the strike we're hanging out at as we keep on rolling to number 1. It's NVIDIA, 1.75 million. So actually decent volume for them. Lately, we've been seeing them put up sub 3 million for a full day. So 1.75 already is actually not that bad. 181.5 is where actually just ticked 182 and about a third now. So up about $2.5 or about 1.4%. So NVIDIA shaking off the woes of the market and going rally ho mode out here today and putting up some volume to do it. This week, a hot one. Earnings are back. So if you like, again, the micro stuff, you have some stuff to sink your teeth into, even though, unfortunately, a lot of it still is being overshadowed by all the macro madness out there. But this week we had a lot of names, Abbott Labs, United Airlines out there having some interesting numbers coming out of them. The financials mostly blown the doors off, which we kind of expected. Citi, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase earlier this week. Bank of America as well as Morgan Stanley. Today, Chucky Schwab also looking pretty good out there. And Interactive Brokers popping off today as well. See what our buddy Thomas has on the docket. And then tomorrow we've got Ally and Amex, not the exchange, but the credit card. as well as Fifth Third and Comerica. So a lot of financials this week. Let's look really quickly, because I want to unleash the Flow Master. Let's look at some of the earnings move results, and earnings season reports that we have updated for you on the website because we like you, theoptionsinsider.com. Click on the Options News and Articles tab so you too can join the fun. All this data coming at you for free because we like you and because we twisted Matt and his team's arm over there to do it. But yeah, yesterday after the bell, United Airlines, they were at 104 pretty much exactly going into their announcement. They're pricing in 6.2%, and as of this report, they had only moved 2.1%. So a little bit of vol underperformance out there, United Airlines. Let's look right now. Right now, they're down about 6%, so they have caught up intraday with their straddle. So you had to be a little bit patient out there, but it's one of those ones where if you kind of did both trades, if you were quick on the trigger finger, you might have been all right out here. But an interesting one, Chucky Schwab today before the bell, 94 1/3 is where they were trading going into their announcement. They were pricing in 5%. They had also moved about 1%, which is kind of interesting. I'm sure that number has changed now. Schwab actually up about 0.5% right now. So right now, if you blasted away on premium, in fact, looks like someone did that today in Chucky Schwab, then you're looking pretty good out there, listeners. So just a few that are on the docket. Let's look after the bell at our old buddy Thomas, see what he's up to after the bell. They are, of course, IBKR listeners. 69 3/4 is where they were when we ran this reports earlier today. In the past, they've moved 3 1/4. Right now, they're pricing in $3.80. So someone got the memo in IB that more juice is your friend these days on the earnings front. So we'll see if that pays off after the bell. And we have a ton of others: GE, GM, Netflix. All of these names that you trade, listeners, we crunched the data on all of them for free because we like you over there on the website. Dig in, have at it. If you're trading right now, maybe CME, our friends down the street, they're popping off next week. They're in here. IBM, good old Beamer. You name the ticker. If it's coming up soon on the earnings, Tesla, you may have heard of them. It's all in here, listeners. Southwest, American Airlines, theoptionsinsider.com is the place to go. But now we got to get on out of here. It is time to unleash the Flow Master. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, listeners, it's Thursday. Time to unleash the beast. That is the Flow Master. And let's see what he has on his dockets for you today, listeners. First, we go out to a name we just talked about. It is kind of inescapable these days. It is AMD. I talked about it already earlier, popping again today. It's had a nice run this week. Had a big move just earlier this week on Tuesday from about 219 all the way up to where it is right now, 239. So pretty much a 20 handle run out there on AMD. So just been quite the run after folks kind of initially rallying it off that OpenAI news and then coming into fade. We saw a lot of the par puts, the 200 puts, trading quite a bit on the hot options report last week. Those looked all right. We got down to about 207 last Friday, and ever since then, it's been mostly upside back to 239 again. So if you were loading up on those par puts, you had a brief shining moment in the sun to get out of them last week, and then that's it. This week has not been your friend. But that said, Mr. Flow Master, what kind of flow are you spotting in our old friend AMD?
Yeah, this has been, as you said, there's a lot going on with the stock, right? It's up strong. It's up strong because, because Nvidia is basically giving them some money to buy Nvidia stuff, which is actually, as I said, there's a lot of the negative chatter going around. Part of it is this kind of inventory financing concept, which, really does echo back to some shenanigans that we're seeing during the dot-com boom. Now Nvidia and AMD, they're big companies with mega earnings, so it's not quite the same. But I think a lot of people that have been in the market for a long time are like, I don't quite love this cross investment. And then layer in that with the government stake. There's just a lot of kind of weird stuff happening. That said, AMD kind of seems to be, I guess is one of the winners in this whole thing. As you said, the stock's up a chunk from 164 to 240 in just a few weeks. And this one actually was our top row on trade of the day, which, as you know, because you're lucky enough to get a rare copy of it, is the most profitable outright opening option purchases. And so yesterday's trade was a sweep buyer of just over 5,000 of those October 240 calls. Now, these expire tomorrow, okay? So yesterday they were two-day calls. They paid from 268 up to 270 when the quote was 261, 265. So they basically blew through the posted ask, and the stock was stock ended the day up, right? So they didn't buy it in the morning when it was really, I actually believe it opened down on the day, but it had kind of started to rally, and by the end of the day, it was almost $5 higher. These things that they had paid 270-ish for closed at 466. So now this is not a weird little, meme style odd block. This is a big boy trade. This is 5,000 calls for 268 is about $1.5 million bucks. But they made about $1 million bucks on the trade. They made 74%. So it's a nice trade. It's a very chunky trade, and given the fact that the market just seems to be pretty choppy, as you and Mike said, like if you're a day trader and you get it right, there's some pretty impressive swing. But I have tried to day trade futures in my life, and it's really, really hard to know kind of when you want to get in and to time things right. So it's a little bit more of a treacherous market. I guess that's what it feels like. I don't think anybody loved it when we were just trudging higher, because that gets kind of boring. But when we're having 100-point swings in the futures day to day, that's one of the reasons that we see VIX, around 22, 23. But in this case, this is a call buy. Lots of leverage in those two-day calls, and they made 74% when the stock, just went up about $5, not even half a percent.
Yeah, not a bad do. And you're right, as the kids say, a pretty beefy trade. 268. The stock was 233. They're putting on the 240 calls. It's about less than a week to go, listeners. That's a sizable outlay. You need the stock to run, and luckily for them, they got a nice little move out there in AMD. I like how you put it too, as well, Mr. Flo. These are treacherous markets. I think that's a good way to describe these markets that we're hanging out. Obviously, opportunities for intraday trading, but also opportunities to get run over. So be judicious out there, listen. I mean it when I say it at the end of every show. Stay safe out there, and these are days when you could certainly get run over in some of these treacherous, easy for me to say, treacherous markets we're all living through together out here, listeners, as we keep on rolling out to a name that kind of came across our radar today as well. And this is a newcomer. We have not discussed this name on the network before, or at least it's been a while since we talked about it here on the network. What are we talking about, listeners? What name is breaking onto our ranks out here today in the odd block? It's Flagstar Financial Inc., ticker symbol FLAG. And by the way, before I keep going, let me just point this out as well. Whenever the Flowmaster is on the show, we always make sure we do a nice run of the Eye of Sauron in the morning right before the show to kind of get a lay of the land, see what the Flowmaster's own platform is spitting out for interesting activity out there today. And this is the first time in a long time, I'm not going to say ever, because I'm sure it's happened once or twice before in the past, but it is a very infrequent occurrence, listeners. But when we run the Eye of Sauron and it comes back with all puts, save one, I can't recall that happening anytime in recent history out here. So I'm looking at it right now, and the only non-put we saw today, listeners, was an overwrite of 6,000 of the Chuck Schwab 105 calls for 52 cents. So just bear that in mind. We got a lot of downside flow out here today, listeners, including what we're talking about next here. This is Flagstar Financial, ticker symbol FLG or FLAG, trading $11.26, off about 2/3 of a buck, or about 5.5%. That's just today. On the year, it's been a little bit rougher, off about 9% for the year, even though they've had some topsy-turvy moves They were $12.39 a year ago. Then they sold off in December to, looks like their low for the year, around $8.50. Then they rallied hard again in February. Once again, another name that kind of hit their apex around Valentine's Day and hasn't really, well, they threatened it once again, but we'll get there. So got up to about 13 1/3 on Valentine's Day, then sold off again on April 8th down to about $9 and change. Then rallied again a couple of times, $12.50 in May, and about almost at 13 level again, $12.80 in late August before selling off again to where it is right now, $11.26. And looks like Mr. Flowmaster, we got some put action. And also, what are your thoughts in general on your old Eye of Sauron really showing us that today apparently is a day to put some puts in your back pocket, Mr. Flowmaster?
Well, I mean, as I said, we kind of went from a pretty exuberant, frothy market to a little bit more chop, and my favorite, unusual directional option volume is like very aggressive speculative call buyers, and there's kind of conditions where that really works the best. I mean, we all have kind of some way of looking for these things, and if those are popping off, and some of them are running in part because just a lot of people are watching them. That doesn't quite happen when you get into a market where people are really a little bit more, where fear is kind of driving things a little bit more than greed. So it doesn't surprise me that the last, really since Friday, things have just been a little bit more cautious, a little bit more bearish, less spec call buying, a little bit more on the put side, which is what we're seeing in Flagstar. And it's actually kind of an interesting one. I'm actually talking to a broker on the Amex just to see if I can clarify. So there's two big trades that are a lot bigger than the average daily volume of this thing is only 5,000 contracts, and we have two trades this morning. One of them was just before 10:30 New York time, and it was a 15,000 lot of the May 9 puts. These were crossed for 48 cents. Crossing just means that the broker that had the order also had the other side of the order, basically, and so the floor community didn't really participate. So 15,000 were crossed for 48 cents, and this was actually tied to a block of stocks. It was tied to 270,000 shares at 1138. So you got to be careful. This is another kind of thing with the data is even though the stock, the CO value was 49 cents at trade time, that trade time that was printed, the stock was 1129, but we actually know that the stock was 1138 for the two parties involved in this trade, which means your Theo, you have to kind of delta adjust it down a little bit. So it makes it look like this actually was a put buyer. It's a little bit hard to tell. That would be a little bit of a bearish sign. As you said earlier, the earnings out of the financials seem to be pretty good. But this stock's down, currently down about 6%, and it's kind of at the low end of its range, which is 9 to 13 over the last year. So, a big opening buyer of 9 strike puts, so more than $2 below spot, not expiring until May of 2026, so almost whatever that is, 8 or 9 months. So that seems to be kind of a little bit of a bearish chunk. But then weirdly, 10 minutes later, we saw a buyer of about 3,000 of the January 11 calls, and they paid $1.20 and swept a whole bunch of markets to do that. So actually, their sweep, paying $1.20, touched 10 exchanges and had 41 legs to it. So then that's also a buyer. So it kind of looks like it's a little two-way. In general, what it's done is kind of bid the vol up a little bit. And I think I'll put this one on my radar. I mean, the vol's up 7 or 8 points in the 30 and the 60-day terms to kind of the 50 level. So, with the stock is kind of already at the low end of its range. My general inclination would be to maybe lean long in it, even with that put buyer. But it's kind of an interesting one. It's definitely an odd one. I'm really not too sure. It's interesting to see a big old put buyer followed 10 minutes later by a pretty aggressive call buyer.
Yeah, that is kind of weird flow, and we love when new names come on our radar. This one you're watching, listeners, ticker symbol FLG. I think we're all going to be watching it now here. You like these puts for around $0.50? You're getting some duration. You're getting all the way out to May. Also, it is kind of a low level in the stock. So is the horse already out of the barn, or is there more to come? Or are you saying sold to you? Sold for $0.50, and I'll pick up some stock around the 9 strike if that indeed comes to pass. Interesting stuff out here, listeners. Speaking of interesting stuff, and you folks, we have some time for your thoughts really quickly on a little bit of the old Thursday mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, just catching up with the chat here really quickly. Looks like a lot of talk about Rigetti, looking at Rigetti puts and maybe being a little bit too intimidated to sell them. I get it. Rigetti is a beast. Yeah, that's why I say be safe out there. These are times where maybe in names like Rigetti, discretion could be the better part of valor. I get it. Some of those premiums are attractive, but these names are whipsawing like crazy out there these days. Some folks saying they're not chicken. They're just waiting for smarter fills. Yeah, see, there you go. You're smart folks out there. I agree. You're not chicken. You're just waiting for the better level that you're attracted to. Also, a lot of folks talking smack and well wishes about all things fantasy. Yeah, the week kicks off again tonight. We'll see if Uncle Mike can dig himself out of the hole that he is in right now. Speaking of what's going on right now, I just checked in with our flash poll we put up just a few minutes ago out there in the trading block about the hot VIX trade of the day, which is the Nove 18.5 puts for close to $1.20, 60,000 of those changing hands today. We said, that price, are you down for those? You want to buy them, or are you sold to you? Now, that is a more attractive strike, obviously. We've been talking 15 and 15.5 puts seemingly all year, and those have never really come to pass. So maybe 18.5 is your huckleberry. But then again, Nove expiration. Can we get there by then? That's the question. And right now, 2/3 of you are saying a big fat no, sold to you. Only 1/3 of you want to buy those puts. So maybe a little bit of a sea change out there from our audience perspective. I know usually you folks want to buy downside in VIX of late. Doesn't seem like that is the case right now. Agree, disagree, get over there at options. Make your voice heard. We will keep this live for a full day. So all of you folks listening on the podcast can play along as well. Speaking of weird no VIX trades, our flash poll from the Monday show, we said, hey, the big print we saw on Monday, 163,000 of the November 35. So off to the upside we went. It looked like it was a bit of a roll from the OCK 35s, but the Nove leg in particular is what we were focusing on. They went up for 84 cents. And we said just straight up, that price, Nove 35s, 84 cents. Are you a buyer or sold to you? And once again, you folks, maybe you folks are just looking to sell some premium in VIX, because nearly 60%, about 58% saying they're selling them, 30.8% saying they want to buy them, and about 11.5% saying, what the hell, VIX Nove 35s, WTH. So I could agree with a lot of those sentiments out there. So I guess right now, listeners, if you want that Nove 35 18.5 strangle, and who doesn't? That's the bad boy out there. You can get it for a little over $2, about $2.05. What a deal. 18.5 35 strangle in VIX by Nove expiration. What can go wrong with that trade? I love it. Or maybe you're saying sold to you, in which case pocket all that juicy $2. We also asked you last week on the show really quickly, a lot of VIX prints going up that are interesting. We talked about 100,000 of the OCK 35s for 42 cents. And a lot of you wanted to sell those as well. You guys have been in premium selling mode in VIX for a little while. Unfortunately, that was not the right call. We know what happened last week. VIX shot north, and those calls pretty much doubled in a day, if not tripled. So they had a good run on those. So not all the time is our audience on the right side of history, but you've had a good run. You got a pretty decent track record, all things considered out here. As we keep on rolling, it is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, listeners, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on until the next episode of the old OB, which in this case would be on Monday. And as we were talking, listeners, looks like the sell-off has intensified. S&P off about 0.5% right now. Dow off about 0.4%. NASDAQ off about 1/3%. So S&P back down to about 66.35 range or so, where we said it was flirting below that not too long before the start of the show. So kind of an interesting intraday range. And then, of course, our old pal VIX Cash, we said at the start of the show, it had threatened the 23 handle earlier this week, starting to get back there again, 22.65 as we're coming into the end of the show. So rallying almost a full point, about 0.9 of a point since we started the show. So a lot going on. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what are your thoughts as our resident permabull on this intensifying, I'm making up words here, intensifying bit of red on the screen here, sir? And then what else are you keeping an eye on until the next episode?
Definitely like the word intensining. I think that should be
that's a good word. I like it. I'm going to add it to my vocabulary.
I like it too. Yeah, I mean, we're right at the all-time highs, so you never know what's going to happen. I think it's a good time to be cautious. Tomorrow, our monthly hedging will be renewed, if you will. Tomorrow, we've rolled up some puts from our long-term hedging, so we definitely have a cautious stance at this point in time. The fact that tweets can do what they do, the fact that we're in earnings season. Be careful out there, folks, to steal a line from Mark.
You can also steal another line. Would you say with your puts and other things, are you perhaps intensining those positions?
I will be doing some intensining tomorrow, that's for sure.
I'm going to call up Merriam-Webster after the show and say, you got to add this to the dictionary. Intensining coming to a dictionary near you. Mr. Flowmaster, what flow are you keeping an eye on? And dare I say it, intensining over there, sir?
I think everything is intensining every day here at Cboe. Well, I mean, earnings, I think, will continue to grab some attention. Tesla's not too far off, and we're through a lot of the big financials, but we have plenty of other interesting ones. Intel next week as well. We didn't talk about the fact that, last time I was on the show was Thursday, and Friday we traded 110 million contracts in the market. And today looks like another 80 million contract day. So the volume is definitely intensining in our industry, that's for sure. I think the average daily volume currently is over the last 30 days is running near 80 million contracts. But I will be watching the earnings. I also, I think the macro picture matters, right? I mean, Powell was speaking yesterday. That also actually got us a little bit of chop. Whatever comes out of Washington, and we got the shutdown. There's just a lot happening, and I think that it's interesting actually if you think about it. These kind of treacherous markets. That's where you are reminded to keep your trades small and be disciplined. Don't just do something and not really kind of think it through. And these markets are going to kind of slap you on the wrist if you don't, right? If we're getting 100-point swings in the S&P, that means if you overtrade or you oversize, you're likely to get hurt just because the numbers are going to move faster than you expect. So I'll be watching the macro picture. I'll be watching earnings. I'll be watching, the metals and crypto. Today's an interesting day. You have gold and silver up, and you actually have crypto taking a bit of a hit. So I think it's the first time in a while, we've had this kind of risk assets. Even Friday when we were down so hard, gold and silver both, I believe, were lower, as well as Bitcoin. So things are kind of, shifting around a little bit to see the metals continue higher, and yet the markets and the crypto world lower is a little bit of a different vibe.
Yeah, the metals are just inescapable out here, listeners. That music means we are done for all things Option Block. I will be back in your ear holes instantaneously. Probably going to talk some metals, Uncle Mike. So if you want to hang out for 5 or 10 minutes, you could have your fill of talking metals, sir, because I got a feeling we're going to be talking metals on TWIFO in just a couple of minutes. I know that is your bag out there, so I'll leave it up to you if you want to dive in. In the meantime, sir, if folks want to talk metals with you, where should they go? What should they do?
Not able to make it, unfortunately, but appreciate the offer as always. If you are looking for a financial advisor who actually looks at this stuff and actually lives in the option world, if it's appropriate for the clients, of course, which it is pretty much always. Go to stcharleswealth.com, book an appointment, have a conversation with me. Also, St. Charles Wealth Management on YouTube. In the next week or two, there will be some content coming up. Stay tuned.
Because you're not going to be on the show with me, I will proceed to talk smack about all of the precious metals for the next hour, sir. So you had your opportunity to be the rebuttal. You know, you chose not to. So all the gold bugs and silver bugs, don't get mad at me. I'm speaking truth. Uncle Mike was going to be your guy there, and he declined. He's a little scared. I get it. I shellacked him this week in fantasy football, so he needs to kind of turn tail and run a little bit, listeners. If you want to go check him out, stcharleswealth.com is the place to go. And Mr. Flowmaster, sir, where should they go? I know there's been some updates on the Cboe side this week, so help the folks out. Where should they go if they want to get some access to some good trade alerting, sir?
So you can still, even with our new web design, head over to cboe.com/RMA, which is Risk and Market Analytics. But as you noticed, you do need to click one more click to get to the Trade Alert login, which is once you get to Trade Alert, click on the link that says either institutions or individuals. It doesn't actually matter, but that's where you need to go to see the login to Trade Alert rather than just the login to Cboe.com. So, but Cboe.com/RMA and check it out, request a trial. Lots going on when we're trading, 80 to 100 million contracts a day. So don't waste any time.
There you go. Check it out, Cboe.com/RMA. If you go to /Trade Alert, make sure you scroll a little bit below the fold. That's where the actual login is for Trade Alert. Don't be fooled by the Cboe login. Don't get lured in the way I did, listeners. Head on over below the fold so you too can have uninterrupted access to all of your favorite analytics, Cboe.com/RMA, or just go to TradeAlert.com. A lot of great stuff waiting there for you. And of course, there's a lot of great stuff waiting for you in the pro, including today, TWIFO. We're going to talk smack about all of Uncle Mike's favorites coming up in a little bit. You don't have to wait at all in the pro. It's coming at you right now. And then, of course, after the bell, we'll be back. If you like this show, you need to listen to the Hot Options Report. It is kind of the trading block in microcosm, listeners. So make sure you're checking that out. Again, another reason why you should be subscribed to the full network. Back again tomorrow talking vol with Dr. Vix, who you got a taste of earlier this week already on the European market brief. So all kinds of fun going on. Then, of course, wrapping it up for the pro members tomorrow with a little bit of options oddities before we're back to wrap it up for everyone with another episode of the Hot Options Report. Then we're back again on Monday. We'll see how Uncle Mike's doing in fantasy football and his beloved metals as we kick off another episode of the Option Block. I mean it this time, listeners. Stay safe out there.
The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.